Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today we are going to be talking about the NFL, mostly the Chicago Bears. I am a huge Bears fan, and I'm actually kind of really excited about this season. I'd have been more excited if Aaron Rodgers retired or got traded, but um, I'm so excited. I love football; it's my favorite sport to watch, and I'm pretty excited for it to be up and starting soon. And tomorrow, it's the Bears' first preseason game. It's going to be on TV. They're playing the Dolphins. I'm pretty excited to see how the team looks. Obviously, in preseason, it's hard to get a real feel for the team just because, some players don't play. But I'm excited to see Justin Fields. I mean, I'm not a scout. I don't claim to be a scout. I feel quarterbacks are so tricky to get in the NFL, and to play well, like, it just seems it's definitely the hardest position. But if he's ready, I do feel like they should start him over Andy Dalton. And don't get me started on Andy Dalton. That was a stupid signing. They spent so much money on him, and I just wish they never signed him because Foles, they still have Nick Foles on there with a terrible contract. That was another bad trade by the GM. But it would be fine. Now they have like millions of dollars invested in the quarterback room. But I am excited to see Justin Fields. I keep hearing like crazy things on TV about how good he looks in practice and stuff like that. Obviously, it's just practice, but I've also read bad things about people in practice. So, I mean, it's got to be a positive. I'm also really excited for the whole team in general. Like, if Fields can just take off, the Bears haven't had a quarterback. I mean, the last quarterback I liked that they had was Kyle Orton, and they wound up trading him for Jay Cutler, who actually I was happy about that trade, but he turned out to be an utter disaster. But I was not happy that they traded Kyle Orton. I thought he was a very underrated quarterback. And I also feel if he started that Super Bowl instead of Rex Grossman, they probably would have won. But anyway, back on to this season. I'm pretty excited overall. The team's pretty good. Like I said, the quarterback room, I mean, they have Dalton now. There's nothing I can do about it. But I think Dalton could be a very good backup. Hopefully Fields can either start the season, which it doesn't seem like, or take over shortly thereafter. Then their backfield, Montgomery took huge strides last year. He looked very good. They brought in Williams from Kansas City. I really like him too as a depth piece because you can't really trust Cohen coming back from his big injury. Plus, Cohen's more of a gadget person. And then they drafted the one kid out of Virginia Tech. I forget his name. Got my trusty magazine here. I love the draft. The NFL draft, it's like my favorite thing. And this is the after draft magazine. Like, it tells you after the draft and after free agency, all they signed. And it's made by this company, Lindsay. Their magazines are the best. I always get them every year. They also have one before the draft that scouts everybody. It's really great. You should get it if you are interested in really looking at all the rosters and the coaches and just the whole roster in general. So I forgot the guy's name. Oh, yeah, Herbert from Virginia Tech. I've heard good things about him. But anyway, I'm very happy about the running back depth. Then you move on to the wide receivers. And right here on my screen, I'm a huge Allen Robinson fan. I feel he's extremely underrated. He is 100% a number one receiver, hands down. He puts up number one receiver numbers. I don't even know if I have his numbers here. Yeah, I do. Last year, 100 catches, 1,250 yards, 6 touchdowns. And that's with Trubisky and Foles throwing to him. Like, if they could just get him some kind of decent quarterback. Like, I don't know why they haven't signed this guy. Let me just tell you this. I hate the Bears GM. Ryan Pace, I think, is terrible. I feel he panics and makes crazy moves, and like that's why I think Nick Foles is on this team. What he gave up for Foles, a 4th round pick, and all that money that he had is just crazy. And I don't know why he doesn't sign Allen Robinson. He brought in all that money with Nick Foles. He signed Robert Quinn, who doesn't fit in the 3-4. If you look throughout Robert Quinn's history, when he's been a 4-3 end, like on the Rams and on the Cowboys, he's played well. And then when he played outside linebacker to 3-4, which they did run it, and for the Rams there, he doesn't produce. But he gives all this money to him and to Nick Foles, and he just doesn't sign Allen Robinson. And it pains me because I really feel Allen Robinson is just burnt at this point, and he's going to play this year. But unless he falls in love with Justin Fields, I think he's going to be gone. And it's sad because I think he's extremely underrated. He's only like 27, 28 years old. And those numbers are crazy with the quarterbacks they have. So, and then on the other hand, Darnell Mooney, I'm super excited about him. He's just going to be the number 2 receiver. And, I mean, it's not going to happen every time, and sometimes quarterbacks will miss him, but I remember just seeing on TV, watching games or highlights or where certain shows, like the NFL Network, just showed where he was just burning people. But it was either the offensive line wasn't blocking or the quarterback just was terrible and didn't see him. Because let's be honest, the quarterbacks before, Nick Foles, awful. Trubisky, awful. I hated Trubisky from the moment they drafted him. I don't know why he played like 10 games in college total. I just didn't like him at all. But I'm also not going to sit here and say I didn't know much about Patrick Mahomes. I don't watch as much college football as I used to. So I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, I knew Patrick Mahomes was going to be good. I didn't say I didn't want him, but I wasn't pushing for him because I didn't know much about him. He also came out of Texas Tech, but they always play in this spread offense. There's always quarterbacks that come out that don't even get drafted, or they're backups, and they put up huge numbers at Texas Tech. And then Deshaun Watson, I didn't want him at all because I have felt, probably until more recently, but always like quarterbacks at big school programs like Alabama, Clemson, stuff like that, they never translated to the NFL. Like if you look at the quarterbacks that are successful, Aaron Rodgers, he went to California, Patrick Mahomes, Texas Tech, Lamar Jackson, Louisville. Even if you go a little bit further back, Peyton Manning, arguably one of the best quarterbacks of all time, definitely top 5, maybe top 3, went to Tennessee. Dan Marino went to the University of Pittsburgh. Like, it's always like, it's not the big powerhouse colleges. So, but I did not want Mr. Trubisky at all. He was terrible, and I'm glad he's gone. But I will say this, to let him go, and he signed only $2.5 million with Buffalo, and then Andy Dalton signed, I don't remember what it was, $11-12 million. To me, I don't see much difference in the two of them, just saving money-wise. But, I'm not an NFL GM. Now, back to the receivers. Like I said, I think Robinson, if Fields is legit and he gets his opportunity, and maybe even with Dalton too, these guys can be 2 of the best receivers in the game. I really, truly believe that, and I hope that happens. They do lack a little bit of depth, but they brought in Marquise Goodwin, speedster. I like that. They brought in Newsome through the draft. So they're not terrible, but they're definitely top heavy, but I love those 2 receivers. Now, onto the offensive line. I don't love Charles Leno, but I think that was stupid cutting him. I thought they should have just kept him there and see what happened. I know they drafted the 2 tackles, but Jenkins only played like 2 games in college at left tackle. And just, he's a rookie. Sometimes it takes him a little bit, and sometimes better to bring people in to right tackle, then maybe switch it later and then he's also like an insurance policy, Charles Leno, because last year putting Cody Whitehair at left guard was huge, and I've always felt that way. I remember it was a big thing with, I think it was the Arizona Cardinals. They had this big lineman, Leonard Davis, and he was an elite, super elite guard, but they kept making him play left tackle, and he played well. He was good. But to me, I'd rather have an elite guard and put someone else out at tackle than have an average guard and a good left tackle. That's just me. So the point I'm making is with Cody Whitehair, they kept pushing him into center, obviously because James Daniels failed and stuff like that. But he is a guard. He is a very, very good guard. So they moved him there. They brought Mustafar in, who was an undrafted free agent. He played well last year. And then James Daniels played well, obviously on the left side. Now he's going to move to right guard before he got hurt last year. So right there, the interior is great. And then I think their backups are great too. Alex Barr is a really good rotational lineman. You know, like he could play center if he has to, guard, tackle. And then they would have the rookie Jenkins at right tackle. But now they cut Leno. So I still like the left guard, center, and right guard. They're claiming they're going to play Jenkins at left tackle, but I know he's been hurt, which is terrible because, you need to get reps at left tackle. They brought Jermaine Ifedi back. I don't know why. I feel it was way too much money where, he's going to play right tackle. Like... you just drafted it. Like, I feel like, and sometimes you don't know how the draft is going to go, but the GM definitely messed up in signing, I feel, Jermaine Ifedi, Andy Dalton, because if he could see into the future, which you can't, you don't need Andy Dalton on this team. Because Andy Dalton is what? He's a placeholder for the first round draft pick. Nick Foles could have done that. And then Jermaine Ifedi, he gives him $5 million for an average to below average offensive lineman, where you just drafted 2 tackles, So whatever. So the offensive line is still up in the air. I don't even know if Jenkins is going to be healthier or how he's going to play. But I do love the interior of the line. And again, I do wish they just held on to Leno, because is he great? No, but he's solid. So... I mean, whatever. And that pretty much wraps up the offensive line. Now on to the tight ends. I do like Cole Kmet. I don't know how good he's going to be, but I heard he's a solid blocker and he can play. I know they kept Jimmy Graham, which that's what bothered me about the GM. Like, I know Jimmy Graham, he scored like 78 touchdowns last year, but he's clearly not the same player. I personally would have cut him instead of the GM cut Charles Leno, which I was like, and then he cut Kyle Fuller, the number 1 corner. I don't understand that anymore. Like, I know they needed money, their cap situation was bad, but you could have cut other places. And this is the order I would have went. I would have went Jimmy Graham, Charles Leno, then Kyle Fuller. That's just me. But whatever. So then they brought in Jesse James. He'll probably be the 3rd tight end. So I'm happy with the tight ends. Cole Kmet was a 2nd-round pick last year. Obviously, I'd love him to take a huge step. So overall, obviously, Justin Fields is the biggest key. But, I mean, he has all the talent. Justin Fields has the arm talent. He has the body. He can run around. He's mobile. He has speed. So all he needs now is, does he have the smarts? Can he process the playbook? Look to first, second, third progression, something that Trubisky couldn't do. He basically just, once the first option was covered, he got flustered. So that's it with Justin Fields. He has all the tools. All he needs to do is put it on the field and mentally process the playbook and the thing, and then the team obviously would be great. But I do have confidence in him. And then, God forbid, he struggles a little bit. You have Dalton. My only concern, I would say, on the offense is the tackles. I'm not very confident of the tackles. We'll see how it is. Obviously, Fields being mobile and with speed, it'll help the offensive line a little bit. So the offense, I feel, is looking pretty good for the first time in years. So that's it with the offense. Now I'm going to move on to the defense. Okay, defensively, Eddie Goldman is back, who opted out from last year. I think he's a little banged up right now. That's huge to get him back because the run defense was awful last year, just awful. Hopefully he could still be the productive run stopper that he was. And then by him opting out, Bilal Nichols took a huge step and really solidified himself as a good player in this league, and hopefully he'll keep progressing. And then obviously they have Akeem Hicks, who I know they were thinking of cutting him, and he's old, and this is his last year, and you can seek a trade, but I don't know what kind of extension he would want, but I would give it to him if it was just like an extra year, maybe an extra 2 years, because when he's on the field, he is a force. He is, I feel, the most underrated defensive lineman in the NFL. And I know last year and the year before he was banged up, but when he's out there, he is a force, and he plays both. He attacks both sides. Like, he can stuff the run and rush the passer. So for this team to be successful, Akeem Hicks needs to be elite. But I will say this, their defensive line, they were in a 3-4. So you have Goldman at nose tackle, and then the two ends, Hicks and Nichols. I think that's one of the best in the league. I really do. You could say, oh, well, they get banged up. Health is always a concern. Like, when I say, like, the team's going to be good, I'm putting health in there, that they're going to be healthy. Football's, obviously a crazy sport, and injuries happen all the time. So we'll see what happens. I mean, injuries kill everything. Look at the Chiefs. They lost their two tackles. And people can say whatever they want about Tom Brady. He is good. He's not my pick for greatest quarterback of all time. Maybe we'll save that for another video. I know he's good, but they won last year because for two reasons. In the NFC Championship, that cornerback king for Green Bay, and they brought him back, he should have been cut right there on the field when he blew that play right before half. And also, in defense, Aaron Rodgers choked in that game. He had multiple possessions, and I know they did the field goal and all that stuff, but that defense shut him down, and that's why the Bucs won. That defense was, and listen, they were a great defense, but when you have two tackles out, it makes your defense even better. And the right tackle for Kansas City, that guy was an all-pro. Schwartz was an all-pro. So I just feel that injuries, well, the point I was making is injuries change everything. So hopefully the Bears can stay healthy on the defensive line, because I feel like they don't have a ton of depth. I know they brought Mario Edwards back, and they drafted Tonga. So, maybe they need to have more depth than I think. Now we'll move on to linebackers. Obviously, outside linebacker, Khalil Mack makes a ton of money. He was banged up. He hasn't been as dominant the last couple of years. But I tell you, I watched a bunch of games last year for the Bears. He was double teamed on almost every play, almost every single play. So he's fine. I'm not worried about him. Obviously, the biggest concern is Robert Quinn. Oh, I forgot his name there for a second. He was a complete bust. I think he had 1 sack last year. And any of the games I watched, I feel like he never got in there. So I'm not sure, so I'm going to check so they brought some guys in like Jeremiah Acho, and they drafted Gibson last year. Maybe he'll take a step. And then I know they signed this guy, Snowden, that I keep hearing people about, undrafted free agent. So hopefully, even if Quinn doesn't step up, maybe one of those guys will step up, in a rotation. Then you move to middle linebacker. Obviously, Roquan Smith is a beast. He wasn't an all-pro last year, which is a freaking crime. He should have been. He is elite. He is all over the ball. He is silent on the sideline. And now I feel with Eddie Goldman back, he's going to be even better. Then you have Trevathan. I think Trevathan is done. I didn't like that they brought him back instead of Kwiatkowski, but they did it for the leadership. But he was getting smoked last year. And then I think he settled down a little bit at the end of the year. But I feel like he's finished. I hope I'm wrong because they don't have too much depth. I know they brought in Ogletree recently. Then they brought Jones back that they had a couple years ago for depth. And then they have Iggy. But, most of the time, I guess, I don't know too much. I haven't studied the film or anything like that. But a lot of times in the NFL, you don't need two linebackers out there. It might just be Roquan Smith. So Trevathan won't hurt them too much. And now I will say go on to the secondary, which I feel is the biggest concern on this team. Eddie Jackson got his first couple years, he was elite. And he hasn't done anything the last 2 years. And they need him to be elite. And because what it was is he was tons of turnovers. I've also read articles he gets burnt a lot in coverage. We'll see if he can improve this year because that's huge for the defense. And then they brought back Gibson, who I thought was solid, whatever. Then they, have Carson and Bush, who's always the depth, Devin Bush. So I'm sorry, Deion Bush. So the safeties are okay. Like I said, they need Eddie Jackson. He gets paid like, he's Ed Reed, so he needs to step up. Corners is the biggest thing. I'm a huge Jalen Johnson fan, but he was always injured in college. He got hurt last year, and he didn't play in the playoff game. And then, like I said, they got rid of Kyle Fuller, which I do not understand why. That was just – and then you could tell how good he is because the second he was cut, he was signed by the Denver Broncos. So I think that's a huge loss. I don't know if they know something more than I do about Artie Burns or Vildor or Duke Shelley. I know they brought in Trevathan, who's been injured, and he's nothing. But I am so super concerned about the secondary. Obviously, if you get better pass rush, and they have a chance to get a lot of pass rush with Mack and Quinn and Nichols and Hicks, and even Roquan Smith blitzing from the linebacker position. So that'll help the secondary, but they better have something up their sleeve because Kyle Fuller is going to be a huge loss. So unless they have some sleeper corner, because this is the thing, like Jalen Johnson is now your number one, and it's only his second year. He was hurt all the time in college. That's why he fell in the second round. And he was hurt last year at the end of the year, and he didn't play in the playoff game. So if he gets hurt again, 6 games in, then your starting quarterbacks and then Trevathan most likely will get hurt because he gets hurt all the time. Then your starting quarterbacks are going to be Duke Shelley and Artie Burns and Vildor. I don't know. We'll see. And then I would say we go on the special teams. Their punter, he's solid. O'Donnell, nothing crazy. They re-signed Santos. I thought they gave Santos a little too much money, but he was great last year. Hopefully he didn't get this contract now, and now he's going to stink because unless it's an elite kickers are up and down all the time. So hopefully that works out for them. But I am really super excited for this season. I can't wait for this game tomorrow, even though it's only preseason. I don't get the Bears regularly on TV. I don't live in Chicago, but I believe they're on TV 5 times this year, so I'm excited and to watch a lot of that. But again, I'm really excited for the preseason game tomorrow. It's at 1. I think it's on the NFL Network. And I'm actually excited overall for the NFL. Maybe I'll do a video before to see who I like in each division and maybe do predictions. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that because talk about each division. Maybe I'll do one video on the AFC, one on the NFC, and break down and see how my picks do at the end of the year. But I think that's it for now. hopefully this team can play well. I don't love Matt Nagy, but I feel like he does get a bum rap. He has made the playoffs 2 out of 3 years. He's been the coach. I think it's more on Ryan Pace. He makes dumb moves, and I feel he panics. Like, signing Andy Dalton, he should have just waited. Like, I remember hearing them say, like, oh, well, he was going to sign somewhere else, and he had other offers. Okay, then let him go. He's not, he hasn't been good in years. Like, I don't even know. I don't have the numbers in front of him, but he did have some good years in Cincinnati when the team was loaded with AJ Green and stuff like that. But that was when the last time he was good there was probably at least 5 years ago. And then, the year before, trading for Foles, panicking, where this is the thing. I understand Trubisky is not the answer, but you had to put all your chips in on Trubisky last year. Like, you just play him. He's the first round pick, you play him. Robert Quinn, obviously, cutting Kyle Fuller. I'm not a fan of Pace. And don't get me wrong, Pace makes... I mean, obviously, it's not just the GM. There's scouts and there's the coaches and player personnel, but he has made some sick draft choices like Darnell Mooney and Cody Whitehair and David Montgomery, and then obviously he brought in Allen Robinson. But he's on the hot seat, definitely. But I do feel confident about this team. I don't think the Lions are going to be good, but I do like their coach Campbell, and Jared Goff is gonna surprise some people, I feel. So, and then Minnesota is always a crapshoot. I feel like they can either be really good or they can be bad. And then obviously Green Bay is the cream of the crop and they're elite. Rodgers is back. So, but in closing, so if you like what you saw today, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below. Who's your favorite team? What do you think of the Chicago Bears? How do you think they're going to do? Whatever your favorite team is, tell me what your concerns are about your team and what you like about your team and how you think they're going to do. So, everybody go out, have a great day, be safe, see you next time.